Hello, I'm Jared Taylor with American Renaissance. The internet is trying to smother my videos. So if you like this one, I hope you'll send the link to a lot of people. Some people want you to stay ignorant. They just don't want you to know, especially facts about race. The less you know, the easier it is to push egalitarian propaganda. Let's look at some examples. The College Board publishes AP exams. Every year, it used to release data on racial distribution of scores. John Bockenstedt of Oregon State University downloaded the information and made it easy to search. Here is his graph of how different racial groups score. It's the usual pattern. Asians get the highest scores, followed by whites, then Hispanics, with blacks at the bottom. Over to the right, there is a highlighted source link, but if you click on it, you go to the College Board site all right, but you get this error page that asks innocently how the page can be improved. I typed in, restore the racial data. The College Board never announced the change. It just stopped posting new data and scrubbed all the old data. The College Board ain't telling why it's hiding the ball, but there are two possible reasons. One is that it wants to spare the feelings of people of color. It doesn't want to trumpet the fact that if a passing grade is 3, 70% of blacks and 58% of Hispanics fail. And they're less likely than whites and Asians even to take the tests. The truth is just too awful. But the College Board could have a different reason. A lot of colleges now make standardized tests optional for applicants. And the main reason is that favored minorities don't score well. These days, rather than recognizing the obvious, that not all groups achieve at the same level, the fashion is to claim that the tests are biased. The College Board needs to sell tests to stay in business, so maybe it thinks it can keep sales up if it hides facts. Here's a different example of hiding the truth that's more straightforward. Real estate websites Redfin, Realtor.com will no longer display crime data due to racial bias concerns. When you buy a house, you want to know if the neighborhood is safe, and Redfin and Realtor used to tell you. Not anymore. Christian Taubman of Redfin says we can't trust crime data. The reason? People reporting crimes were more likely to describe their offender as young, male, and black than would be expected given the representation of these groups in the population. Does this Taubman fool really think that young black men are no more likely than anyone else to be criminals? How can a grown man, and he looks to be over the age of 13, think or say such a thing? But if the crime data support negative stereotypes, he'd rather you didn't know. Too bad if you get your throat slit. The University of Illinois at Chicago also seems not to care if students get their throats slit. It puts out safety warnings if there's a maniac on campus. But last year, it announced it wouldn't tell you the maniac's race. As it explained, the decision is a proactive, progressive measure balancing public safety with the potential negative perpetuation of stereotypes. Oh no, stereotypes. Our goal is to make everyone feel welcomed and safe on the UIC campus. I guess maniacs need to feel welcomed and safe too. So the authorities won't tell you what you need to know to spot the maniacs. People have been hiding the truth for a long time. Here is a story from my old print publication from 1999, summarizing a Minneapolis Star-Tribune article. Duluth, Minnesota did a detailed study of every one of the gun crimes in the city in 1997, but suppressed one thing, race of criminal. The guy who ran the study, Frank Jewell, was worried about what people of color would think, and that the information might be misinterpreted. The police chief said, "We wanted to focus on firearms." I guess the triggerman doesn't matter because guns just go off by themselves, right? Our rulers are so determined to hide the facts about crime, it's surprising what slips through. The New York Times keeps telling us that top law enforcement officials say the biggest domestic terror threat comes from white supremacists. So you would expect the FBI's most wanted list of domestic terrorists to be full of white supremacists. You'd be wrong. Here they are, boys and girls, all 10 of them. Only 5 are even white. 3 are blacks, there's a Hispanic, and there's a Muslim. And who are these whites? Starting at the upper left with Donna Borup. She's a violent Marxist-Leninist who wants a communist revolution. Skip one to the right, and there's Josephine Overacre, an arsonist with the Earth Liberation Front. Bottom row left, Catherine Kirkow was a Black Panther who hijacked a plane to Algeria. Elizabeth Duke is another revolutionary commie. And Leo Burt is an anti-war bomb thrower. Not one Nazi, not one Kluxer. You could collect as much as $150,000 if you help the feds catch these people. Just for fun, I looked up the FBI's 10 most wanted for all categories. Only one honky, bottom left. But if you round up Jose Rodolfo there at the lower right, you could collect $1 million. These wanted posters could really give you the wrong idea about race, couldn't they? If college campuses can stop describing the perp, I think the FBI should too. The Canadians sure need to clean up their act. The city of Toronto lists the people most wanted for homicide. Here is the latest page of mugshots. Yes, it looks more like Mogadishu or Cairo, but this is Toronto. The year indicates when these lads went on the most wanted list. Anything earlier than 2020 is considered a cold case. Do you see anyone here that you would call white? Guess how far back you have to go to find white people? To 1987 and 1983. These two are the oldest Toronto cold case homicides, and they are the only white people on the whole list. Dennis Howe on the right is 82, if he's even still alive. Maybe Toronto keeps him around to celebrate diversity. You can find surprising stuff, for now, if you do some poking. Something called the Milwaukee Homicide Review Commission keeps track of all homicides and non-fatal shootings in the city. Here is a time chart of both kinds of crimes from 2010 to last year, with a huge jump in 2020 and another increase in 2021. But Milwaukee is very unusual. It gives you racial statistics. In 2021, no fewer than 89.4% of the suspects in homicides and non-fatal shootings were black, and 10.4% were white. There was one American Indian. However, 7.6% of the suspects were Hispanics, who should be subtracted from whites, which means only about 3% of the murder and shooting suspects were white. The racial mix in Milwaukee is 67.5% white, 10.8% Hispanic, and 15.8% black. This means that a black person in Milwaukee was 126 times more likely than a white to be a murder or shooting suspect. 126 times. Don't believe me? The multiple of 126 is called an odds ratio. You can use the 4 percentages I just gave you and use this formula to calculate it. Try it. For extra credit, see if you can calculate how many homicides and non-fatal shootings there would be if Milwaukee were all white. Hint, it could defund the police. Do you think Milwaukee media will ever tell you what I just told you? The people who don't want you to know about race and crime really don't want you to know about race and IQ, but science marches on anyway. The latest issue of Intelligence magazine has an article called On the Prediction of Human Intelligence from Neuroimaging, a systematic review of methods and reporting. As the article points out, attempts to determine IQ by directly assessing the brain, neuroimaging, have taken off as technology advances. There have been 24 studies in 2019 and 2020 alone. Will they find racial differences? Of course they will, but National Public Radio won't breathe a word about it. Same thing for studies that look at huge population samples to find correlations between genes and all sorts of things, including intelligence. These are called genome-wide association studies, or GWAS. As early as 2015, Intelligence published this article, a review of intelligence GWAS hits, their relationship to country IQ. Do you have any idea how hard the regime will fight to keep you from learning this stuff? It has to, because its whole conception of how the world works requires that you and everyone else, even our rulers, stay ignorant. Facts have an awkward way of showing up anyway. Politicians can yell about white supremacist terrorism, but the FBI doesn't yet invent phantom white terrorists to put on the wanted list. Redfin can pretend crime statistics are bogus, but you can tell a lot just by walking around, and Redfin just looks foolish. You can rule for only so long by hiding the truth. Eventually the truth comes out, and you can learn a lot of it right here. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to this video channel. Also, please give the video a thumbs up. I invite you to visit AmRen.com, AmRen.com. There you will find videos, podcasts, discussions, many things which I feel sure will interest you. But thanks so much again for watching.